So thank you so much, everybody, for jumping on. This is very cool. Kristen, are you on with video or just audio? Because I'm gonna need you. You're one of the experts, but we have another expert on, which is Dr. Gail Randall, who is just an incredible integrative who knows all the traditional stuff and all of the woo-woo stuff and is able to integrate that, which is, I think, what we need, right, Larry?
Hello, hello.
Yeah, there you go. So this is my baby brother, Larry. Some of you know him. He's going to be one of our teachers. Let's see. We have, who else do we have on? Oh, I think I've got to go and no. Got to.
Hello, hello, everyone.
Oh, Kristen, hi.
Hello. I have Oscar with me as well.
Hello, Oscar.
Okay, we got a bunch of people who want to come in. Okay, hold on, admitting them all. Awesome, including my daughter and some wonderful friends. Let's see here. Awesome.
Happy birthday, Richard. Long time no see.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You know, I mean, there are some benefits to having a socially distanced thing where it's now possible to actually have people all over the place.
Yep.
There we go. I'm trying to get back. Deborah, are you on?
Happy birthday, Richard.
Hello, Deborah Messing.
I'm here.
What an awesome thing to have you on. And by the way, the Supreme Court gave me an incredible birthday present today.
Happy birthday.
Do you want to tell people what that was?
Oh, well, we now have Trump's tax returns in the hands of the New York City Attorney General.
Great.
Woohoo! District Attorney. Yes.
How many millions of pages is it?
They said million. They said millions. So
Seriously.
I hope this doesn't turn out to be a nothing burger. What are the chances of this being a nothing burger?
Zero.
Very high.
Hold on.
Very high.
Who said not very? Did you say high or not very high?
I did, not very high, because Trump has been inflating his assets for one purpose and deflating them for another purpose. They're going to find that. That's going to be obvious. And remember, they got a lot of the mob bosses on stuff like this.
Right, Al Capone.
Yes.
Right. Well,
jail.
Well, what my brother Ed and Larry know is that our own grandfather, this very mild-mannered guy, not very big, not very strong, he literally had police support as he went into mob bosses' houses and confiscated their financial records. And it was based on those financial records, like it will be with Trump, that they actually got them in jail. So I'm very proud of him. So hopefully the same thing is going to happen. Deborah, are you feeling more confident about things now that it looks like our friend Deb Haaland is going to be confirmed?
Yes, that was a great relief for me to hear that Manchin was finally going to be on board. You know, I'm still distressed about, you know, NERA, because that's not going to happen. I'm thrilled that Deb Haaland is on. It's historical. But it's still hard for me to sort of just handle the hypocrisy, you know, that is constantly coming out of the GOP. You know, the excuses for not wanting to confirm women of color is, you know, it's just, it's hypocritical. And I just, it distresses me.
Well, here's the good news on that. I think if Manchin kind of is obstreperous about a few, or even maybe just one, that might give him the ability to do other good things. Have you thought about that? Because I think that's a real thing for him.
Do you think he'll vote yes on HR 1?
I think he will vote, absolutely will vote yes on HR 1, but he will probably not vote to end the filibuster so that it can pass in the Senate. That's the problem.
They are folks who are learning more each day about the fight.
Who was that?
I don't know.
Aviva.
I mean, do you believe that he will vote for the HR 1 if it includes the $15 minimum
No.
wage?
No, he will not.
Parliamentarian voted against it, unfortunately.
Did
they
that?
voted against it?
The
Who said that?
parliamentarian nixed it. Can you hear me?
Well, that is.
Oh, I was waiting for that to come out. I didn't know that they voted against it.
It's already happened.
Wow, I had not heard that either. But actually, I think there's a, thank you, Kathleen, for giving us this news flash here. I actually think that's good news, because I do think that that would have sunk the whole thing. And now I think we can go forward. We can get the $1.9 trillion into people's hands who really, really need it. So
I actually think they were using that as a chit, that they knew all along that wasn't going to pass muster. And that was what they were willing to kind of sacrifice, to make it appear at least they're sacrificing in order to get it through. That's just my
right. Good point. Okay, good. So now that we've gotten some of the political talk, I just want to say hi to everybody. I want to go to talk about how we can celebrate dozens of additional birthdays together, so that we can also help save the country as we move forward. And I don't think there are any Trump people on this call, but if there are,
God save you.
we'll have that conversation later. Anyway, I want to introduce Don Janklow, who was a client of mine about 40 years ago when I was practicing law. Susan Hogue is a cousin of mine. Malka is a rabbi, and I'd like you to bless this in a minute. Kimmy is an old friend from Maine. Kiara is my daughter. Who's owner? Is that Bobby? It says owner. I can't see it big enough. Ignacio is a friend. Hi, Nacho. Got my brother Larry and his wife Debbie, and my other brother Ed. We have one of our speakers, Dr. Kristen Willeumier, who is amazing. Kathleen Gildred, who is our news source today. Iantha, who is an old friend. Christy, an old friend. And Cecily, an old friend. And Aviva. Hi, Aviva. How are you? From DC.
Oh, sorry you didn't see me, but I'm on the board of DC Vote, and Cory Booker is just talking about our cause for Stacey Abrams' podcast. And, we have a vote on March 8th. And, if you want to have a real Democratic majority, give us a vote here in DC. And Joe Manchin will not be so powerful.
Right. We need those 2 more Democratic senators.
Absolutely.
In DC. And it's going to be tricky, but as Deborah and I have been talking a lot, we're going to pull the Hollywood community and the activist community together
to
get people.
Deborah, would you do a PSA for DC Vote? We
have absolutely.
Next 2 weeks, we need to get as many people in Hollywood. Sorry, Richard, to use your birthday for the cause, but
if you can just get a script.
We will get you a script. We had Ron Reagan do it, a Roosevelt relative, but now we want to get anyone and everyone in Hollywood.
I'm in.
And Jolie Fisher, thank you, Deborah. Deborah is truly unbelievable, her dedication. And I have told her this on her own Instagram feed. I think without Deborah Messing, we might not have won the White House or Georgia. Seriously. No, I mean, seriously, we won by a few thousand votes in a few states. I mean, you know, just one person can make a difference, and that's such a critical thing. So we have to all be fit for the next several decades to help take back America. So Malka, can you say a little opening prayer here? I'm just really
and happy birthday and happy Purim.
Yes, it's the first night of Purim, so we're supposed to get drunk. So
Right. So
I have some yerba mate. I don't know if that's going to do it.
Challenge accepted.
That might just send you over the top.
It could be. Could be.
with
Malka, Rabbi.
we
Yeah,
do-
tell us about Purim, and then
the coincidence of Purim. This is a holiday where we welcome the whole world turning topsy-turvy. We're supposed to get so inebriated, so drunk that we can't tell the difference between the name of the hero and the villain. So what does that mean when we're welcoming the world to be topsy-turvy and looking at it from all angles, and open our hearts and our sense of gravity to enlighten? So it's also a story of secrets, and one of the things that's held secret is God's name. It doesn't appear anywhere in this whole story in the book of Esther. Esther, the name means secret. But there's no mention, because really it's a story of manifesting godliness through great courage. So we gather at this moment of where our courage keeps us going. We've ignited this flame, and we'll just keep it going with one more sling around the sun, Richard. And for all of us, a great year of energy and light going forward.
thank you so much, Rabbi.
You're welcome.
So what I want to do is I want to go and first of all, thank all of you for coming. I had originally planned, as some of you know, to do this sports-centric thing where it would be tennis today and baseball tomorrow and then ping pong on Saturday. We're still doing that if you're interested. But a lot of people were concerned about the socially distanced aspects of that. And we have these variants that are raging, so I understand. So I decided, why not do a totally COVID birthday party? And on top of that, share some of the coolest people that I know who have incredibly important information about how to stay well, how to get fit, how to live longer, and these biohacks. And so I wanted to start with my dear friend, Dr. Kristen Willeumier, who has a brand new HarperCollins book called Biohacking the Brain. And Kristen, why don't you tell us what we largely boomers need to know about keeping our brain in top shape, because that is the key to everything, isn't it?
It really is. Well, first, I wanted to start by wishing you a happy birthday, Richard. It's so lovely to see you. I feel like it's been too long, and it's really such an honor to be here with all of your friends today. And thank you so much for the support of the book. It really means a lot to me. So what do we do to take care of our brain health? I think I was sharing with Richard, the reason why I wrote Biohack Your Brain is I worked in a clinical neuroimaging department for the Amen clinics. And back in 2009, we ran, at the time, was one of the world's largest brain imaging studies in living professional football players, showing what we could do. Number one, we first showed the damage that happens when you play professional sports and collision-based sports. But what was more exciting about that work is we showed we could rehabilitate brain function using very simple dietary and lifestyle modifications. Now we have all of the wonderful bells and whistles in the clinical setting, like neurofeedback and transcranial magnetic stimulation and hyperbaric oxygen therapy. But the one really valuable lesson that I learned was, I think people really underestimate the power that they have in their hands with what they eat every day, the exercise they do, how they hydrate. And for someone who's been in the field of neuroscience for 2 decades, I was really sort of amazed to see that we could use clinical neuroimaging to show that these dietary and lifestyle modifications made a difference. So with that little preamble, I thought I would share just a few of the things that I do and that I've recommended in the clinical setting for the thousands of patients that we've worked with to really help keep you sharp as you age. What do you think? Is that the right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Before you do that, hold up
Yeah.
your book. I see it in the background.
Hold up the book. Yes.
Yay, biohack your brain.
Yes.
And the other question, the first question I have before you jump into it is, why in the world, when we have known that all of these lifestyle things, you know, diet and sleeping well and eating well and not eating crap and not smoking, why are we not talking about that on a national level, especially in the middle of the biggest health crisis we've had in 100 years?
Well, I think we are starting to talk about it now. I think that's one of the gifts of the pandemic, if there ever was a gift in all of this. I think, you know, as many people are struggling now with their mental health issues, they're trying to figure out, what can I do, right? What can I do at home to help take care of these things? And having worked in a clinical psychiatric setting where working with some really sort of complex psychiatric disorders, the kind of people that would come into our clinic had ADHD, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder. And we would use very natural approaches first before putting people on medications, because medications have side effects. And I will tell you, I don't think people talk about it because I don't think people really understand how powerful these dietary and lifestyle modifications are. Now, if you're a scientist like me and you're reading the literature, you know, we can read it and go, oh, you know, omega-3 fatty acids, if I take 1 to 2 grams a day consistently over the course of weeks, months, or years, that can actually grow brain volume in the hippocampus, which is an area important in learning and memory. But nobody really talks about that. Nobody teaches us that. We just
hold on. You're telling us that if we take omega-3s, we literally can grow the mass of our brain?
That's correct. So your brain is 60% fat by dry weight. And every neuron, so you've got 86 billion neurons that are in the brain, and each one of those neurons has fatty acids around them. And so you need to have omega-3 fatty acids, the best being marine sources. So from fatty fish, salmon, tuna, mackerel, trout, cold water fish. You also could do spirulina and seaweed, or you can get it from nuts and seeds, sort of plant-based sources. But it's really the marine fatty acids that literally grow brain volume. And as we age, so once we hit 40, for every decade that we age, we lose about 5% of our brain volume. So that's why it becomes really important. Our nutritional choices, the things that we eat every single day, are either helping support healthy brain aging. And why I love omega-3 fatty acids is they're anti-inflammatory and they're antioxidants. So chronic diseases really happen because of inflammation. So just by doing the 1 to 2 grams of fish oil per day, you can help reduce inflammation and grow brain volume. So it's really helpful. And I know you know this, it's like I'm sort of full of brain facts. Like if you get me going, I'll probably go, you know, for 2 hours straight rattling off.
Well, you know what?
And I know this is a birthday party, so I'm sure.
No, but it's a birthday party because I'm 67 and I want to live in a really vital way. I want to live over 100. And so you're my go-to coach person, as is my brother Larry and Karl and some others. So let's do this every year.
I would love that. And I want to, there are always like a few fun things. I mean, I don't want to take up all of your time.
No. We're going to mix it around. Don't worry. You're doing great.
I know my omega-3 fatty acids are my favorite, but since this is your sort of inside circle of people, I wanted to share with everyone. So hydration is really important to brain health.
So we're going to get some information that you don't share to the outside world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is, well, when I get to talk to your friends, it's sort of the inside circle, right? Your VIP circle. So I used to have to run these brain-directed weight loss groups, starting with the professional athletes. So when we were working to rehabilitate their brain function, one of the things that we saw is a majority, at least 50% of the players I worked with. So I worked with 100 players initially, and over half of them were overweight. And so my mentor at the time said, you're going to run a brain-directed weight loss group for these professional athletes and help teach them how to eat brain healthy to lose weight. And I initially thought he was nuts. I'm a neuroscientist. I dissect brains for a living and figure out why, neurons die in degenerative diseases. What am I doing teaching a weight loss group to professional athletes? But what ended up happening is I started teaching people and educating them about how to take care of their brain health. So one of the things I realized people don't do is hydrate properly. I know it sounds so simple, but most people, thank you, Richard. I'm so proud of you. Most people aren't drinking enough water.
Deborah, do you have the same water?
Yep.
Okay, well, so can I tell you, that's my secret.
With electrolytes, with sugar-free electrolytes inside.
I love the electrolytes. I actually talk about in my book, one of the chapters is on hydration. Back when I was doing my graduate work over at UCLA, I had several fainting spells. And it turned out I had the fainting spells because I wasn't hydrating. Because most people, when you're young, you're in your 20s, you aren't really thinking about it. You're like, oh, I eat fruits and vegetables, right? I get my green juices. But I was fainting everywhere. I fainted at the National Institute of Health in giving a presentation. I fainted in front of the Department of Neurosurgery at Cedars, giving a presentation that I knew like the back of my hand, but I wasn't hydrated. So I learned very quickly that's sort of one of the essentials. And I just wanted to share with your group, again, because it's Richard's secret inside source. This is my all-time favorite. Okay, I'm going to bring it up to the camera. Can everybody read this? It's Ophora. It's Ophora water. So this is a very special water. It's expensive. I'm just going to give you the heads up. But it comes in glass bottles. It's hyper oxygenated. It's alkaline, free of contaminants. I've been studying water literally for 2 decades. And I have found that this particular water is extraordinary. So if I were to give everybody one tip, and again, it's a premium, like buying 4 of these is like $80. It's not cheap. But the gentleman who created this was a PhD from University of Michigan, and he was all about clean water. And so I'm kind of really excited. So yes, I want everybody to drink water, drink half your body weight in ounces of water. Women should be getting about 90 ounces, men 125 ounces. 20% of that can come from fruits and vegetables, but you really just want clean water. Because I teach people about the brain. Your brain's not made of soda, coffee, juice, green tea. Your brain's actually made of water. And it's comprised of water. And I used to work in a laboratory setting where I'd have to keep neurons alive in a dish for months to do experiments. And the things that I realized is those neurons survived when they were in an alkaline media. So the pH, was slightly alkaline. When they were alkaline, the neurons connected and made connections with their neighbors, and they looked gorgeous. And when they weren't in an alkaline media, so when they were just going through regular metabolism and I wasn't changing the media, they died. The cell bodies exploded, their little processes retracted. And at the time, so I spent, a decade working at UCLA in a laboratory setting, just studying neurons in a dish, what makes them grow, what kills them. I worked in Parkinson's. So that was sort of my initial entry into neuroscience. But I took all of that, and then working in the clinical setting, I was like, oh, wait a minute. People need, purple club, it's good. People need to be hydrating. They need to be getting the green juices in. That's actually one of my other sort of longevity tips. For the last 20 years, every single day, I do a 16-ounce green juice. Whenever I work with clients, even my pro athletes, for every coffee they have, I have them do a green juice. So I think green juicing is really one of the sort of essential ways to keep your brain and body healthy. Because when you juice, you get the enzymes from all of those great vegetables that actually those digestive enzymes will help your stomach, right, digest foods. But the other thing is they're loaded with antioxidants, which will protect the neurons of your brain from dying.
So
I know
let me,
literally I'll talk for 2 hours, Richard.
no, hold on, because I want to get Dr. Karl Pfleger in, and I want Karl, your opinion on what Kristen said. But just to recap,
yes,
you're saying if you're going to do anything, do omega-3s, 1 to 2 grams
daily. Yep.
Every day, because that helps literally reinforce the mass of your brain, right? And get it from marine sources directly or indirectly if you can.
Yeah. But if you're vegans, right, you can do the algae. So you can do spirulina, you can do seaweed, walnuts, almonds, nuts and seeds. So you can still do that too.
Got it. So, and then the second thing is water, 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 water. And you're saying that our brains are not made up of all Coke and all these things.
Of Diet Coke. Yes, no.
I'm reasonably convinced that Donald Trump's brain is in fact composed of Diet Coke.
It's very
Diet Coke and
we were in the position
fried chicken and Big Mac. I think that's the problem.
And I mean, okay, can we all recite his cognitive test? What isn't it? Man, woman, person,
camera, TV.
Like that's
camera,
actually a running joke in our house. Well, we know excess sugar in the brain leads to a type 3 type of dementia. And so we want to, that's just another tip, right? Try to get your sugars down to 25 to 36 grams a day, which trust me, the average American consumes about 90 grams. And when I used to teach the weight loss groups, I'd make everybody track their sugars and, it's through the roof. So that's another great way to preserve brain function.
So let me recap. So we got omega-3s.
Omega-3s.
We've got don't eat sugar, right?
Just try to bring it down, right? Try to bring the numbers down. Because if you bring your sugars down to that 25 to 36 grams, you'll drop weight like this. I mean, I turned into a weight loss guru. I didn't even know I was going to be that good. Just through making these little modifications in people's diet that they followed, over time. So I have tons of people who've lost over 100 pounds and it's not hard. It's not hard.
Wow. Right.
It's not hard.
By the way, we have someone on, my friend Karen Laurie, who consumes.
Oh, wait a minute. I know Karen. Wait, Karen's on here?
Karen, are you on?
I am. Hi, Richard. Happy birthday. Hi, Kristen. Good to see you.
So Karen, tell
guys were friends.
tell Dr. Kristen how much sugar you consume every day.
Well, I mean, I do not eat. I have not had any sugar. There's sugar in almonds, but I've not had any sugar in over 8.5 years. But there's sugar in. I don't eat fruit either for that reason, but there's sugar in, I think there's sugar in asparagus and Brussels sprouts and stuff, just natural in almonds and things like that.
You need that, your brain actually needs that for fuel. So, we don't want to make all sugar bad,
Right, there's complex, complex carbs and there's simple carbs, right?
Refined sugar is what's bad.
Hey, let me introduce you.
Refined sugar, and then a lot of, for me, if I eat a lot of fruit, it's too much. I can just feel my body gets too weird. So so for me, I just don't eat any refined sugar, but then I'll eat, I eat unsweetened, but nothing done to the almonds, but they taste like sugar. They taste so sweet. Everything tastes sweet when you don't eat sugar for a while. Then all of a sudden you're drinking water and it tastes like
your
taste
buds
change your palate.
Change. They absolutely change, which is spectacular. This is why lowering the sugar helps people lose weight, because you just lose the craving for those foods. And if you reintroduce something that has processed sugar, you'll taste it. You'll actually taste sort of the artificial sugar from chocolate. It's really bizarre.
Yeah. And it's worse after COVID.
I want to.
Yeah.
One second, Nacho. I want to go to Dr. Karl, and I want to introduce him. Dr. Karl Pfleger is one of the smartest people that I know, and we just randomly met because I've become obsessed with vitamin D as the untold secret to how we get past this fricking pandemic and how we save especially people of color, Black and brown people, from depressingly horrific, disproportionate impact of COVID. And Karl used to be a data scientist, PhD data scientist at Google, and he took, I guess he had a little exit and he decided that he was going to help change the world, and he studied longevity, and then he created what is the best right now database in the world of medical doctors, professors, and research scientists on vitamin D, and it's called Vitamin D for All. And we literally 2 weeks ago had a meeting with Congresswoman Karen Bass and the White House to try to get Dr. Fauci and the White House task force to actually start talking about these micronutrients like vitamin D, but especially vitamin D. So Karl, you were nodding your head, you were thumbs upping. Let's go in reverse order. What do you think about sugar? It's the devil, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the devil, but when I turned 45, which was about 5 years ago, I went whole foods, plant-based vegan, and I don't do any added sugars or salt or oils. And, you know, I'm all aboard with the whole, I've been paying attention to the vegan authors for a long time that advocate natural whole foods and you know, low processed foods and refined foods. I'm all, you know, that's all for sure. And in fact, you know, I wrote up 2 slides worth of bullet points for anybody, you know, sort of a primer to the field of longevity. And the very first bullet point on the first slide I sent to Richard was all about these lifestyle things, you know, and it's, you know, it's, I should have put dehydration on there, but basically, you know, the first thing to do if you want to live a really long time healthy is don't do any of the things that speed up your rate of aging, right? The rate of aging, this is one of the secrets that biology has discovered in the last 2 decades or so. You know, scientists have been studying the biology of aging for a while now, but it's been sort of a fringe thing on the corner of biology and medicine, not even really interacting with medicine because there was no practical way to do anything. And sort of the people who studied aging within the biology field as a scientific field were considered sort of, you know, people off on the side. It wasn't a mainstream thing. You didn't go into it if you were a respected biologist. Now that's all changed in the last 15 or 20 years. People now understand that the rate of underlying aging at the molecular level in your body is not a ticking fixed clock like a grandfather clock that always works perfectly, or an atomic clock under a mountain somewhere that can never be changed. It's a malleable thing. And it's taken a decade or two to really swing the consensus on that within the scientific community, but now it's the cat's out of the bag, and it's very well acknowledged that you can interfere therapeutically with the rate of aging. And it's now easy to do that in short-lived model species that scientists use, like lab mice and fruit flies and little worms called C. elegans, and even in yeast cells. And, you know, it's easy to do it in humans too, but we're not exactly sure how effective it is because it takes a long time to see how much longer a human lived than another human, and we don't actually have clinical trials for that at the moment. But everyone agrees that that's now coming, and there's a large now scientific community around the world, labs in all major universities, and people working on this, figuring out the ways to, you know, interfere with aging to make it go slower, because basically aging is the source of the most death in the world. It's the source of the majority of suffering and the majority of death in the world. 70% of all deaths globally are caused by diseases and conditions that are basically directly caused by advanced age. So it's something like 55 million people a year die globally, and about 40 million of those deaths can be tied directly to aging. So as a philanthropic cause, it's a huge opportunity. And that doesn't even, you know, that's not even attributing some of the things like infectious disease ages from influenza and COVID to aging. But of course, aging is a really big factor in those too. So it really should help with those. I actually have if you want me to put up a graph, I could show you a graph I made of what the death toll would have been from COVID-19 if the aging, rejuvenation, longevity field had already succeeded. It's going to be a long ways until it succeeds, on the order of decades, but at some point in the future, it's not biologically impossible that we're going to be able to rejuvenate everybody to the health that they had at age 30-ish.
Wow.
That's sort of the goal of the field.
Let me ask you, as of right now, what do you think the upper limit is for living? How old are we going to be able to
There's
live?
no principal reason why aging can't be completely halted and reversed, and we can't have pure rejuvenation. Now, it's not immortality in some fictional vampire-ish sense where you can't die. If you get hit by a bus or a bomb goes off or your plane crashes with you in it, you're still going to die. But there's no reason in principle why you have to go through the molecular cellular process of having your body get more and more decrepit every year. Right now, we all have to go through that, but it's not there's nothing in physics that dictates that it has to happen. In fact, there are known species of animals that don't seem to age. They all die eventually from whatever random environmental thing, eventually kills them. But there are a couple species whose probability of death per year, each year of their life does not get older. Most species get, you can measure aging as a process of increased chance of death. In fact, the chance of death for humans and for mice and for most mammals goes up exponentially each year. Roughly speaking, the numbers for humans are actually very easy to know off the top of your head. When you're age 30, you have a roughly 1 in 1,000 chance. The average person has a roughly 1 in 1,000 chance of dying each year at around age 30. And then it goes up about a factor of 10 every 30 years. So at age 60, you have about a 1 in 100 chance of dying each year. At age 90, you have about a 1 in 10 chance of dying each year. And at age 120, you have a 1 in 1 chance of dying, roughly, because nobody really lives past that. So that at the moment. So, but there are species like naked mole rats that seem to have a chance of dying each year that's pretty much constant once they reach adulthood. And, at some point they still die, but it's not because of a sort of cumulative progression of degeneration or damage. So anyway, so the malleableness, we know the malleableness. I could talk about some of the science if you want, but the important thing is some of the things that make you age faster are having too much fat tissue. You're muted, Richard. And not having enough omega-3, not, being extremely dehydrated, having too low vitamin D, or having any other kind of huge deficiency or deviation from normal optimal health, not getting enough sleep, not eating healthy enough, being too sedentary and not exercising, these things all, smoking, etc. These things all age you. And there's good epidemiological data from long-term human studies where, they look at the top things that are health conscious, like eating a good diet, exercising, sleeping, eating 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, and if it turns out like most people don't do the right thing on any one of those categories, but a very few people do the right thing on all of them. And if you look at the data overall right now, it probably makes 10 to 15 years of difference to overall lifespan. And it's actually not just keeping you decrepit longer, it's like delaying the onset of lots of chronic diseases, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and all the other neurodegenerative diseases. So it's great.
So you're
most it probably buys you 10 or 15 years at the moment.
Well, that's a lot.
That's a lot. And what's one of the important things to know is this concept of longevity escape velocity. So right now, medical science and biological science advances at the rate where every decade, the life expectancy, even not just the life expectancy at birth, from improvements in infant health, but the life expectancy from age 50, for example, goes up by a little more than a year, I think it is, every decade right now. And advances are starting to come faster, so I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up by 2 years, but in some number of years soon, it might start going up by 2 years every decade of new advances, and then by 3 years. And at some point, we'll get to the point where it's going up by like 9.5 years every decade. And then we'll get to the point where it's going up by 10 years every decade. And that's an interesting point, because now, even though people are getting older and it's harder and harder to fix certain things, if we can, once we get to the point where it's pushing back faster than time is passing, then that's called longevity escape velocity. And that essentially means that you might be able to just sort of, as long as you keep up with the advances and keep getting the new technology, then you might be able to sort of not die of aging at least. And, until you get hit by a bus or some accident claims you or whatever.
Well, hopefully that won't happen either. So my brother, who we're going to go to in a minute, his goal has been to live to 140. He is now 59. Is that possible?
So I personally, my assessment of the field, having been in this field, I go to aging conferences where the main scientists who study systemic level aging talk about whole body interventions, stuff like that. The field is still young and it still needs a lot more money. And really the chance of people of sort of the age 50 to 60 now or 70 now continue to live all the way up well past 120 depends all on how fast the advances come, and that's really hard to predict.
Deborah has a really important question, Karl. Deborah, you want to ask that question?
How does genetics play into the longevity model that you're talking about?
There are important genetic differences that can make a difference to your rate of aging. Obviously, if you have a severe genetic defect, then you age much, much faster, right? People with Down syndrome only live to 25 to, I guess now it's 50, used to be 25. And that's because they have very significant health problems due to their genes. And there's all kinds of very severe genetic diseases that of course can kill you quickly. The best possible genes aren't really that much better from a longevity point of view than the average genes. It turns out that genetics doesn't actually influence longevity, have that much of an effect on longevity relative to environment and medicine and things like that. So there are genetic differences, but it's not huge.
Including this.
What's that? So
I couldn't believe that. Oops.
Kimmy, yeah, you're on. Dr. Kristen, do you agree with Karl about genetics playing a smaller role than we might have thought?
I think the environment plays the most important role, as he was alluding to. If you have the ApoE4 allele,
that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, the ApoE4 allele. And
hold on, guys, hold on. This is English only. What the hell is that?
The ApoE4 is apolipoprotein, and it actually helps. It's part of the
this is our home.
The lipid. It actually is involved in making cholesterol. So when you have the ApoE4 allele, 1 or 2 copies of it, it can help. It actually increases your risk of Alzheimer's by, I believe it's 25%, right, Karl?
But more if you have the two bad copies.
Yeah, if you have the 2 bad copies. So it's like 1 copy is 15%, 2 is 25%. So when in the clinical setting, when we're working with people who play collision-based sports or have had head injuries, if they have 1 or 2 copies of the allele, then we think about that in terms of how we're going to rehabilitate their brain function. Because a lot of the work that I've done has helped in that rehabilitation process. And what are the things we can do? Sort of so piggybacking on what Karl is saying, I've been able to see the extraordinary ability of the brain to rehabilitate depending on what we're eating, what we're doing. For example, if we put somebody in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, we can regrow new blood vessels in the brain. We can help mobilize stem cells.
Can you say that again? And Karl,
Yes.
do you agree?
Well, we published it. So we published it.
Do I agree with what? I'm sure short term that hyperbaric oxygen can probably help regrow neurons. That doesn't.
Yeah, no, so we published it in the Journal of Neurotrauma and actually had a cover photo. So because that's part of what we do is rehabilitate brain function. So when you go into these hyperbaric oxygen chambers, you're actually exposed to 100% partial pressure oxygen, which helps get the oxygen into the blood that helps to go to actual areas
The bigger question, though, is whether hyperbaric oxygen is better long term, right? There's a recent study that shows that it lengthens telomeres, but it's not clear that that's actually a good marker that you want to do it in healthy people that don't have damage. Or don't
No, we don't. Yeah, we do not. I do not recommend hyperbaric oxygen therapy is something that
In fact, people who live at altitude tend to have better longevity from the lack of oxygen.
So that's interesting.
Oxygen,
I would say
oxygen creates rust in cars. Well, it also creates, it creates oxidation in mitochondria in cells, and actually is very, very damaging too. So,
but hold on, I thought we wanted
but having too much is not necessarily good.
But don't we want to take deep breaths and oxygenate, in our daily life?
What?
Don't we want to be breathing more deeply and having good quality oxygen? It seems like I've only heard that oxygen was a good thing.
Yeah, he's just saying if you're already healthy, you don't need to go into hyperbaric oxygen chamber, right, for longevity purposes. We use hyperbaric oxygen therapy to help get mitochondria, right? You sort of stimulate the mitochondria to function more optimally. Again, you can regrow new blood vessels in the brain. Even one session can do it. But again, this is in the cases of people who have traumatic brain injury. It's, I'm not going in, I'm a healthy individual, so I'm not, hanging out in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber hoping that that's going to help me live to 140. So I think that you have to put it into the context of, how it needs to be used. But it's having, having run a neuroimaging department and seen thousands of scans, most people's brain images do not look healthy. And a lot of people have issues with circulation, cerebral circulation due to inflammation and oxidative stress and everything that Karl was talking about. So I think that's where, again, environment and diet and lifestyle play such an important role because it can reverse those issues.
So we should follow up on Deborah's genetics question and just talk very briefly about epigenetics because that's worth knowing about.
Yes.
So
before you do, I just want to acknowledge people. I want to say hi to Alice from New York and Nadine and Audrey and Lynn and Radley, my cousin from New York or Connecticut, and my daughter Kiara, who is Kiara. Did you have any questions that you wanted to ask or anything you wanted to say? Just thumbs up. Okay, let's talk about epigenetics. And my mom is joining somewhere soon. I think she's figured out the whole Zoom thing somewhere. And Maureen, hi. So yes, epigenetics. So
epigenetics very briefly is what genes are being expressed in a given cell, right? Your body's made of all these cells. Each cell in your body has the exact same DNA. Those are your genes. But obviously all the cells in your body act very differently, right? Your retina has very different cells than your skin, your brain, your neurons are different. Each different part of your body has different cells. That's controlled by what's called epigenetics. At a tiny level, the DNA, there's this helix. Well, it turns out this double helix of these 4 nucleotides, they have these like extra chemical groups attached to some of them that actually prevent the machinery that reads through the DNA to make the proteins, to make the RNA, to make the proteins. And there also, the DNA strands get wrapped up in these coils, and that actually affects it. So that you don't need to know those details, but the important thing is that different cells act differently because of these epigenetic factors. And it turns out that as you age, the epigenetics changes. And we know that as you age faster, certain epigenetic changes happen. And this is interesting for 2 reasons I'm going to talk about. One is diagnostic, and the other is therapeutic or something you can actually interfere with. So the diagnostic one that's interesting is, we now have the ability to measure the age of cells in your body using this epigenetic stuff. So we have these things that are called aging clocks, which essentially tell you how old you are, not in terms of just subtracting from your year of birth, which is called your chronological age, but actually how old your cells are at a molecular level, which turns out to be more predictive of how long you have to live until you die or what your health is than how old you are. Of course, just knowing your age in terms of years since birth tells you something about how healthy you are. You can predict how long it is till somebody dies better than chance by having that. But having these aging clocks. So these aging clocks are a scientific thing that came along 7 years ago or so, but they've actually now gotten to the point where they're commercial. So you can actually go and buy a methylation clock. You spit into a tube of saliva, or you give a blood test and you send it away to a lab. You can do the saliva tests just at your home. There's 2 or 3 or 4 companies that you can order this from. And then in a week or so, they send you your results, and it tells you how old you are based on these methylation patterns in
So
your
maybe this
DNA.
isn't. So maybe this isn't my birthday. Maybe I'm not 67. Maybe I'm 102, or whatever.
And it's known, like if you look at a bunch of people who have done this, and you look at like what their healthy, what their health is like, and how functional, what their functional health is like, how fast again they run, and were they a smoker and stuff like that, they mostly correlate the right way. And actually, if you do these tests in lab mice or rats, and then you give them known drugs that extend lifespan or known things that shorten lifespan, these clocks react in the way that you expect for the most part.
So raise your hand. Raise your hand if you want to do this.
I've done these, right? So I've done these, and
Karl, can you put a link to how people can find out more about that or order these in the chat?
Yes. Yes, I will. So I'll do that when somebody else is talking. So the other thing to know is that you can change the epigenome, the epigenetics of cells by externally applying drugs or therapeutics to them. So this was first discovered in a Nobel by a guy named Yamanaka, and he got a Nobel Prize for this, where what he was trying to do was figure out a new way to get stem cells. So if you take regular cells that are, you start with stem cells, right? And when you start with embryonic stem cells, they're capable of differentiating into all the different cell types in your body, so they're kind of this clean slate. Well, you can take a cell that's already differentiated. So you can take a skin cell or some other cell in your body, and you can give it, you can bombard it with certain proteins and turn it back into a stem cell, which can then differentiate into some different type of cell. And he won a Nobel Prize for figuring out what set of proteins can do that, and they're named after him, and it was very exciting. So one of the interesting things about what happens when you do that is that you can use this epigenetic thing that I just talked about to measure the health, not the age, the biological functional age of not just the whole body, but of any individual cell that you run that test on by looking at where the methylome patterns are on the DNA. So when you take an old skin cell and run it through these Yamanaka factors to turn it into a stem cell, an induced stem cell, induced pluripotent stem cell, it's what it's called. It turns out that if you then measure the age of that stem cell, it's a young cell. The process of rejuvenating it, of turning it back into a stem cell, rejuvenates it into becoming a young cell again. Well, in 2016, so less than only 5 years ago, some scientists at near Southern California and at Salk figured out that if you send those same signals to cells, it turns out to turn it into a stem cell, you have to sort of give those signals to the cell for like 15 days. If you do it for only about 5 days, and it varies by the cell type, you can prevent it from turning back into a stem cell, but still rejuvenate it into a younger state, which makes it healthier. And so there's people working on this now. It's called partial epigenetic reprogramming, partial because you don't reprogram it all the way back to being a stem cell. And it's tricky because different cell types you have to bombard for different amounts of time and stuff, but people are working on that. And there are now at least, this is a hot area in aging, there are at least 4 or 5 different companies working on commercializing this as an actual anti-aging therapy. It's very exciting because you're actually taking individual cells and moving, and turning them back into a healthier, younger state at a cellular level.
Wow.
So that's one of the hot areas of the field right now.
Now, this is mind-blowing. And speaking of mind, Dr. Kristen, do you want to comment on what Karl said?
I was just curious on how are they doing that? Can you share details? Like, I'm just curious, is it, how are
so most of the companies that are pursuing this have just taken the 4-protein Yamanaka factor cocktail and tried, the first thing that happened at the Salk in 2016 was that they took some progeroid mice, so some mice that were genetically modified to have these advanced rate of aging diseases, they basically gave these protein cocktails to them systemically, just the same way you give, as injections, the same way you give biologic drugs, and for an experiment with the amount of time, and they found that these mice lived longer than their control progeroid, control analogs. And that was a big paper, and that came out. And then a group at Stanford has been worked on replicating those results in naturally aged mice, so not progeroid mice that age at a normal rate. And they succeeded in that. They also did the same thing with human tissue in culture, so not in vivo.
Sure.
And that was Vittorio Sebastiani's lab at Stanford. And he has his team at that lab has now formed a biotech company called Turn Bio, which I'm an investor in, disclaimer.
Got it.
And in order to do their work, they decided to add 2 more proteins to their cocktail. So they have a 6-protein cocktail.
Okay.
David Sinclair, who wrote a great book called Lifespan, which if you're only going to read one book on the aging field, Lifespan is also a good one. I mean, obviously Kristen's book on the neuro side, but Lifespan's more the sort of whole body thing. David Sinclair has a big company called Life Bio, and epigenetic reprogramming is a big part of that. And he has a big paper that came out recently on doing some rejuvenation and I think retinal regrowth in the eye and they're doing a 3-factor cocktail. So they've subtracted one of the 4 Yamanaka factors.
Okay, Karl and Kristen, I'm going to connect you two. You guys can geek out for days. I just see that.
I know we're going to hijack your birthday celebration.
No. I mean, this is fascinating and and highly relevant. I mean, raise your hand if you've already learned stuff that.
It's like with what Karl said, it makes me go, how does that differ from the intermittent fasting? There's so many ways that people could still reverse aging and improve longevity just by changing dietary habits. So while we're waiting for what Karl has, right, for people to take, there's all these, opportunities that everybody can do right now.
Okay, real quick, because I want to make sure we get to my brother Larry. And
let's get to your brother Larry.
Let's go to Larry.
Let's go to
intermittent fasting. Good, but go to Larry.
1 second. So intermittent fasting, Karl, 1 sentence of advice on that, yes or no?
It's probably good. It's not necessarily better than simply reducing calorie intake. Simply being borderline calorie restricted or not overeating is also pretty good. There's a few things that are a little better about intermittent fasting and some things that are worse. And it's not clear that one or the other, but as long as you are eating good, healthy food and not more than you need, that's probably the best.
Which most people don't do.
Most people don't. The great thing about intermittent fasting is a lot of people find that easier to do than actually eating healthy all the time.
It is. Even if you get people to do 12 hours, you can dramatically change, blood glucose levels, cholesterol levels, triglycerides. So I find that, a lot of people are able to do that. They might not be able to get between the 8-hour window, but a lot of people can do 12 hours.
Partially
12 on,
what your
12
problems
off.
are, right? Daily time restricted eating that helps you get on the circadian rhythm, can help with sleep and have knock-on effects that are good that way. If you actually have cancer, then longer intermittent fasting can be useful for generating ketone bodies and starving cancer cells and things like that. But if your problem is, if your major chronic disease of aging that gets you first is heart disease or Alzheimer's, then maybe it's not. It's probably helpful for all of those, but fasting versus calorie restriction is a tricky issue.
Well, the best is the Mediterranean mind diet. So if you really want to slow down brain aging, if you follow that rigorously, it can literally slow brain aging by 7.5 years. So Karl and I could probably
the high level view for everyone to remember about lifestyle tweaks is there's an 80-20 rule here, right? You get 80% of the value by just doing 20 or 30% of the right things. And then there's diminishing returns as you tweak it to make it better. And, you know, but the big value in doing all these tweaks to lifestyle is to keep you alive and healthy as much as possible until the advanced biotechnology comes along, which is.
But if you see it, if you're able to see it through imaging, and I think that's the power, like if you
biofeedback.
image your brain and then we put you on a regimented eating program and then you see what it looks like in 6 months and go, oh my God, you know, more blood flow to the brain. You know, when people have the visual to see I'm making an impact on my brain function, that's what I found really helps.
Well, you know, how many people get to see those brain images? It would be great
Not
if that
many.
was democratized better, right?
Yeah, it's
what, you know, all of these ways of seeing what's under the hood are great, which is why I mentioned those epigenetic aging clocks, right? That's a way to see. You can take you can do one of those things and then totally change your lifestyle and measure it again in 6 months and see how much difference it made.
So I want to, you know, I scheduled this for an hour and a half and I was thinking that's too long. It's clearly going to be like super not long enough. I want to acknowledge some people that are here, including my mom, my 91-year-old mom that just jumped on. Mom, you want to turn your camera on? We just have your profile photo. We'll come back to you on that. My friend Donnell, Kevin, who does this awesome, he feeds or has fed the Golden State Warriors.
All right. Hi there. Do you want me to talk, Richard? Or just say hello?
Did Richard freeze? Am I frozen?
Either he froze. No, Richard either froze or he muted, but I think he froze.
Oh, it's frozen.
Cryogenics.
Frozen.
This is a birthday miracle.
I was impressed he was willing to have a birthday thing. When it was my birthday last April, I decided to tell everybody that I was postponing my birthday indefinitely. Just like everything else was being.
No, we get a leap year. We get a leap year this year.
That's right.
Doesn't count.
When you're 94,000 years old, you start to slow down the counting, you know? This is one of the things that I see, though, and I put it in the chat. We're dealing with aging and getting older and older. But the big key issue, do we want to live in a world like this caterpillar eats up? Human beings are eating up our planet. Human beings are devouring each other in regard to wars or famines or all other things.
There he is.
Hey, Richard.
Oh, he's back. Okay.
I apparently actually got blocked by Facebook for making a comment on my own page. So I thought maybe the Zoom gods didn't like me for some reason. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging in there, and I hopefully didn't lose too many people. So I wanted to acknowledge, recognize my mom and someone who was very, very special, like someone who did a really, really good deed for me years and years and years ago. And I will never forget it. And that's Mimi Peak. Mimi, it's lovely to have you on the call. Thank you so much. Just an unbelievable act of kindness from years ago. And Mom is on, my 91-year-old mother, Eileen. She's now on camera. And I want to acknowledge we have one of the leading researchers in the world for the last decade on vitamin D, and that's Dr. William Grant. Bill, welcome.
Hi, Bill.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Great. Before we finally go to my brother Larry and so many others that are on, thank you so much for joining Taka and Amber. Karl or Bill, just really quickly, how important is vitamin D? Will it keep us from getting COVID or getting really sick from COVID? And how much should we take?
Karl.
You know, we can't say for sure it will keep us from getting COVID or keep us from getting severe COVID. I think phrasing it the other way around, if you're vitamin D deficient, then bad things, that's a bad sign for your health in a bunch of ways, including your bone health and including your longevity. And most likely it makes it more likely that you would get COVID, and also that if you got it, that you'd be more likely to have a worse severe case, more likely to get into the ICU, more likely to have a cytokine storm. And the data on that is pretty solid. It's not proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, but given that most people are deficient, it's a good idea to make sure you get not deficient, which takes, you know, more than 1,000 IU per day. And several of us think it takes 2,000 to 4,000 IU per day, if not more. I actually just did a 13 message tweet storm on this today to sort of engage with more scientists.
So Kristen, you were nodding your head. Vitamin
He's
D
right.
and depression and brain health, is there a correlation?
Absolutely. Low levels of vitamin D are found in people who have depression, people who have Alzheimer's, and in the clinical setting, literally every patient that walked through our door, we looked at their vitamin D levels. We'd say 80 to 90% are low, you know, low being below 30 nanograms per deciliter. You want to get, we try to get people between 60 to 80, and that takes about 3 months. And as Karl was saying, most people we needed to put on 5,000 IUs to 10,000 IUs to get them to that level. So he's absolutely right. And it's just great to do to keep your immune function strong. And as he was saying, the data right now during COVID, it's so essential for your immune health. So absolutely.
I can also add that vitamin D affects epigenetics. Michael Hollick's lab has shown that if they give people a high dose of vitamin D, that they can change the white blood cell genetics considerably. But it's also very similar to what happens between summer and winter. So the question is, does the winter-summer variation in epigenetics, of course, is that related to vitamin D or to temperature or photoperiod or whatever?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it certainly seems quite a coincidence that people get sick when they're not outside and getting sunshine, right?
Right.
And I'll tell you that they showed about 5 years ago that vitamin D extends the lifespan of those little worms that longevity scientists use by median 33%. And those little worms have no bones. So obviously that effect is mediated by something that has nothing to do with bone health.
That's actually a really cool. Thank you
that
for
was done
sharing.
in
Thank you for sharing that. I didn't even know.
That was done in Gordon Lithgow's lab at the Buck Institute in Marin, just north of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
And they went as far as to figure out that it was promoting protein homeostasis. So it was promoting the correct folding of proteins within the cell, and that's why you got a life extension effect.
Yeah, and it's great for preventing cancer too.
Wow. Yeah, we're going to do a whole separate thing on vitamin D. And I do now finally want to get to my brother, Larry. I want to acknowledge just a few more people. My cousin, Gary from Maine, Dee from Washington State. Let's see, Amber. Oh, and Tony. Tony Scruggs is my baseball coach and my dear friend. And I listen, all the things that I've accomplished in my life, the only regret that I have is that I never made it to the Major League Baseball level of playing baseball. Like most kids, I wanted to be a baseball player. Tony Scruggs is a Major League Baseball player. It's like, I bow to you, Tony. He literally played on the Texas Rangers with Nolan Ryan and had his locker next to Nolan Ryan. So I'm sorry if I do my sports geek out, but it's my birthday, so there I go.
Richard, congratulations on another successful journey around the sun, brother.
Thank you so much, Tony. Let's play ball soon. And hi, Iris Greene. We got a lot of Greenes on this call. This is amazing. Thank you all so much. Now, one of the Greenes that I'm closest to is my baby brother. My baby brother, who has become quite the health and fitness and lifestyle coach for celebrities and others. Larry, you've been very patient. Did you want to comment on anything that Kristen or Karl said before you share some of your own hacks?
Yes, I'd like to go back to the beginning and comment on everything stated since the beginning.
Okay, we have to extend this to 9:30 then Pacific time. Go ahead.
I have been geeking out. I'm honored to follow two brilliant doctors who are extremely like-minded. I'm like a kid in a candy store listening to this information. I agree with it. I acknowledge all of these aspects of health and vitality. As you said, you know, I set my sights at 140. You challenged me to up it to 150. I accept the challenge. My goal and my mindset is that I will always look half my age and act half that age. So I'm 59.
Well, being your big brother, I don't think you have to worry about accomplishing that last bit.
I'm 59. I feel, act, and somewhat look 30. And this one in particular often tells me I act like 15.
So there you go.
So why not?
And hold on. And you're about to be a grandfather for the second time next month.
Correct.
Hey, Larry.
Well, thank you. I'm trying to set a new tone for the word, you know, for the role of grandpa. So,
okay. So tell us what you got. What do you think from your experience? What do you think we should be doing that Karl and Kristen may not have mentioned?
Well, you know, the brain, obviously super important. Vitamins, minerals, hormones, understanding, looking under the hood and see what's going on metabolically with your body. Super, super important. The analogy I make is, and guys kind of appreciate this more than girls, you take your car to the mechanic and they do the 120-point inspection and they tell you, well, your oil's low, your tires are low, and this and this and this. And you say, that's okay, I'm fine. And you drive off. And so what happens is that's where we, you know, age, that's where we gain weight, that's where our vitality for life drops and diminishes. So biggies for me are the musculoskeletal system, mindset, posture, gut biome, and lifestyle. And in particular, sleep, which has been talked about, quality, not quantity. To highlight some of the things that have not really been talked about, to me, sleep is most important. This is where all the work gets done. This is how your body restores, repairs, rebuilds, detoxifies. And I have found that people confuse quantity with quality enormously. And so my job is to help them to understand the metrics of that. You know, we wear the Oura ring. I'm a big fan of all kinds of wearables that help people determine their REM, their deep sleep. Are you just giving me the finger?
Yeah.
Okay. So sleep for me is number one. It's not only the sleep itself, it's set up to the sleep. It's the 2 hours before of calming your nervous system down. Karl talked about circadian rhythm. I'm a massive fan about that. You know, we need to live like we were cavemen and women. You know, when it's dark, you sleep. When it's light out, you're active and you eat. You know, spooling down your mind, allowing your body to calm down, being aware of alcohol and coffee and the effect on sleep, the environment in which you're sleeping, your room, technology. Please turn off your cell phones, turn off your iPads hours before bedtime. That is just wreaking havoc in your brain and telling your body that it's still daytime. I could spend an hour on sleep, but that's kind of a summary of hacks that I would talk about relative to sleep.
So, Lara, can you go back a little bit and talk about posture and how that might affect us?
So here's the great thing. We spend a lot of time talking about the brain, and we know that the brain controls every function that the body performs: organ function, muscular function, temperature regulation, respiration, you name it. So I grew up in construction, as you know, and so I understand wiring and electrical. And so if your brain does not have the ability to communicate with your body efficiently through the nervous system, then you're operating at a diminished capacity. So basically, it's as if you're trying to get your computer to work and you have 30 programs loaded and there's 3 viruses in your program. It's not going to operate very well. So posture plays a huge role in here because the nervous system runs down the spinal column, right? And the spinal column was designed by the creator to be a very precise curvature from top to bottom. And our daily life has wreaked havoc on the ability of our spine to stay in that position. And so basically you're pinching wires, if you will, you're pinching these nerve pathways, and you have a weak signal. It affects digestion, it affects sleep quality. I have a couple of dear friends that are chiropractors. I mean, they have helped people, young kids with bedwetting, with all kinds of things just through spinal adjustments. So posture, posture, posture. And unfortunately, we live in a world where, this thing we look at constantly in our laptops and all of our technology, and it creates a rounding of our spine. And that is not an optimal position for the spine. In addition, we end up hunched over, rolled shoulders, because we're doing everything with our hands forward, whether it's typing, whether it's eating, whether it's driving. So we end up with these rolled shoulders, and we end up with a forward head. And so that just further exacerbates how the spine is able or not able to function. So that's my rant on the spine.
Okay, so what else did you want to share that you have found in working with your clients that really can make a very quick and tangible difference?
So listen, just moving. I'm a gym guy. I like lifting weights. Lean muscle, I feel, is the key to longevity and what will get me to 150. Because in order to gain and maintain lean muscle, you have to be active. You have to have mobility in your joints. You have to fuel your body properly so that your muscles can repair and get stronger. You need good rest, good sleep. And I think, so gaining lean muscle obviously is huge. It doesn't mean you have to be bulky. It doesn't mean that you have to lift tons of weight, whether it's swimming or yoga. We know our grandmother lived to 102. I think almost a couple of days, whatever, in a large part because she was in the pool all the time, and she was swimming, and she was in the sun, and she was active. So what I say is be active. Do you like to, whatever you like to do that will challenge your body, will strengthen your cardiorespiratory system, cardiovascular system. So many people have back pain, bad shoulders, you name it. Gaining strength allows you to have better posture.
Okay.
The last biggie, yeah, go ahead.
The
last biggie for me is really mindset. It's mindset, and that's a big bucket because to me that includes energetics, it includes spirituality, it includes looking at the world as larger than what, right in front of you, exploring the notion of souls and soul history and soul purpose, open-heartedness, caring for others, giving for others, and having a sense of community and people that are like-minded that you can share and express and care for and have those types of relationships. So it's so many things. It's everything that's been discussed since the beginning. I'm just adding kind of the physical aspect to it, posture, activity, and mindset.
So I just have to say something, and thank you for going into the spiritual realm. We have some people on this call who are, in my opinion, gurus in that area, real experts who walk their talk, and that would be my dear friend Alice Frank and Karen and some others. And of course, we have a rabbi on, Malka. Malka, did you want to say something about that? And I saw you nodding your head a lot, Kristen.
You're muted.
Can you unmute?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything to add. This is just so filling, and it's just wonderful. So thank you.
And since it's Purim, we're all going to have to get drunk at some point. But let's get through a little more information, and then you're free to go do tequila or whatever. Is there, Malka, is there a prescribed alcoholic beverage for Purim that we should indulge in?
There isn't actually. It's you know, this is a big wide world, and whatever grows in your land or is in your cabinet.
Well, since we now, since many of us live in states where marijuana is legal, is that appropriate as well under Purim rules?
I don't see why not.
Okay, you heard it from the rabbi. So, Kristen, did you want to say something about Larry and his spiritual?
I love Larry. Larry, thank you so much for everything that you just shared. It's it's really touching, adding all of that. I loved what he said about posture. You know, people take their posture for granted. They don't even realize when we are hunched over and there's tension in our shoulders, our back, our neck, it doesn't allow for the flow of cerebrospinal fluid, like a nice flow from the brain back to the body. And sometimes when that cerebrospinal fluid is not flowing well, we can have toxins build up and it can cause brain fog. That's why I like when people go to see the chiropractors and they get massages, right, as part of a really holistic approach to taking care of their health.
Well, and in deep sleep, the bad toxins in your cerebrospinal fluid clear faster. That's when most of them get cleared, is only in the deep phases of sleep.
And there's so much wisdom here. Like Karl was saying with sleep, sleep is probably one of the most essential ways to stay healthy, the easiest way that we can, keep our brain healthy, because you clear the toxic proteins, the abnormally folded proteins that can lead to Alzheimer's. Sleep is when we consolidate memories. All the things that we've learned during the day in our short-term memory can then get put into our long-term memory storage. And really, sleep is essential in helping us to balance and regulate our emotions, right? When we're going into that deeper stages of REM sleep, it allows us to process things that we have going on during the day. So
Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, is a pretty good book level treatment of sleep and how to optimize it.
And one thing I wanted to share with Karl, I actually think he would really appreciate this. I was talking with a longevity researcher recently who studies centenarians, and we were talking about telomeres and telomere length. And, telomeres help protect the protective ends of our chromosomes. When our chromosomes start shrinking, that's a sign of aging. So in the world of longevity, we're always talking about what are the things we can do to keep our telomeres long. What was interesting is this longevity researcher found that he looked at different populations, people from the United States, people from Asia, different cultures. What he found, one of the most important things in healthy aging was the sense of community and staying connected with our community. And he found, while people in the United States had longer telomeres than some of the other communities who actually had short telomeres, it was that sort of sense of community and connectedness, which was really one of the secrets to healthy aging. And I think that's, we sometimes get caught up in our talks in biology, right? How to keep our telomeres long and, how to take care of our cellular health, but we forget about some of these things that are really important, our social connectedness, our community, which is really important now more than ever, right? During COVID, when we're feeling a little bit more socially isolated and not as connected with our loved ones. So I think a really cool thing to think about going forward is strengthening our social bonds and our connectedness as a strategy, as a public health strategy for aging. Would you agree, Karl?
And like my mom.
I was just going to say that, Richard.
Playing ping pong. Can you mention something? Can you talk about
Richard, I just wanted to say something about your mom, since we're talking about aging. Your mother is my hero. She has so much light, and all of you have so much light. And I just want to mention the spirit of all of you. That's what keeps you all young and inspires me. And Larry saved my life and saved my husband's life. And it's all of you and your heart, your soul. And I just want to say happy birthday. It's amazing just to live next to all of you. And your mom's amazing. What's her secret? I mean, she's got the light.
Mom, do you want to share your secret other than ping pong or including ping pong?
I say hello to everybody and thank you all for being related or friends of my eldest son. And I'm glad you got the opportunity to meet my youngest son. and hopefully the other son will count. I'm a perpetual student, and it was very necessary for me to help the world. And so I went on a merry chase because I grew up thinking I was okay, but I wasn't good enough. So I ventured on a journey, and I have been blessed with fabulous family, wonderful friends, and the opportunity to rebuild myself. So I'm grateful for all the wisdom that all of you brilliant people are sharing.
Thank you. And I wanted to say, speaking about reinventing or growing or building, and I don't think he's going to be upset with this, but I was the black sheep in the family for decades, whether it was dinners or social events or birthdays or Hanukkah or whatever. I would always want to talk about spirituality and spiritual psychology and metaphysics and nutrition, and no one in my family was having it. And in fact, my dad would even at some point, get up from the table and it's like, I've had enough, and he would walk off. And so I was like this lone person, and I was fascinated by it, and just really devoted a lot of my life to trying to learn who are we, why are we here, and what is God in the universe. And magically, after our father died about 6 years ago, my baby brother, who had been a meat and potatoes construction worker kind of, real estate mentality.
Well, I've been a vegan for 16 years, so it's meat and potatoes.
Yeah, it's meat, fake meat and fit. So you got into the diet thing because you were getting into the physical fitness, but in terms of your embracing the spiritual world, the non-physical world, and how that interfaces with the physical world, you've treated everybody in the family, including me. I bow to your, and I'm just because this, and I think I can share this, our brother is a link to our father, and my brother Larry communicates with my dad, our dad, all the time, and it's incredibly reassuring. And I would say that yes, community, and the thing that I've always tried to teach is purpose, right? What is your dharma? Why are you here? Because if you have a reason to be on the planet, even if it's to defeat Donald Trump and the Republicans and QAnon and whatever, even if it's that, if you have a purpose, I think, and you tell me, Kristen or Alice, that sends a signal to every single part of your body to keep going. You're not done yet. You've got to keep going. And I think that the body to that. And that's why my mom stays young and, constantly learning, constantly wanting to give and share. And it's incredibly gratifying to me as I'm thinking about my birthday, that I get to share these extraordinary people like Kristen and Karl and Larry and the others with my community of friends and family. And so it's really just been incredibly gratifying to me and for me to do this. And I thank you all so, so much. Larry, did you want to respond to that?
Well, thank you. And yes, I'm, and Audrey knows, and some people know the journey I've been on the last 5-6 years. And it's become an extremely important part of my life. I coach people, I open that door and invite them to broaden their perspective. If they want to take a deep dive, we'll take a deep dive. Yes, for me, connecting to universal energy, understanding and feeling my soul and soul purpose, communicating with Dad and other spirits, which back in the day I thought was way out there and it was woo-woo. You were crazy, and you were crazy, Richard. So I'm delighted to.
I think, by the way, that my daughter would say that is not a past tense verb, but go ahead.
I understood. Sorry, one of the dogs was making noise. So listen, for me, it expands and extends life. There's no question. Each day and forever long, soul purpose is critical, so important. And so, you know, that just allows people to broaden their vision. The other thing I would say is that, you know, if you can really understand how fascinating, advanced the human body is. I know you love your Tesla, the human body, way like 1,000 times more advanced than your Tesla.
Well, hold on now, hold on.
Functions.
Hold on. Have you driven the Tesla? Anyway, no, I agree with you.
And so what I try and do is get people to understand the machine that they have available to them.
I've driven a Tesla, just saying.
Available. And people just end up abusing it. And so that's what we work on, is just helping people to understand how to take care of their body.
By the way, I just want to put in my plug for my brother. He does have a gym. And if anybody is desperate to work out in the gym, you're nodding your head, Audrey. I know you've been doing that. It's very COVID safe. And, you know, you have to determine what level of risk you want, but I believe it's quite safe and it's incredible. And I love what you're saying about getting the body in shape because it's so connected. Kristen, last comments?
I guess I unmute myself. I love it. I love that we're sort of closing with this beautiful sort of connection to the spiritual side of ourselves and passion and purpose. And, you know, I actually come from a family where intuition runs on my father's side. So I am one of those people that sort of walks both worlds of science and spirituality. I have such a respect and appreciation. I wake up every morning just excited for the day. And I feel like, you know, having worked in the mental health field, when people are struggling with anxiety or depression, one of the things I love to do is to help them find their passion and their purpose, to get them back on their path. And I know Larry will really appreciate that. So I just think it's a beautiful thing for us to acknowledge, and everybody's on their own path and journey, right? I stumbled on mine 20 years ago. Well, it's in my family. Like, that's what led me to meditation and learning to sort of connect to something higher than myself. And that's probably a whole conversation for another day. But I love that this is a group that's really that open to it, and it's beautiful.
Karl, last comments for you?
I just want to say I'm really happy that Richard came along and joined the vitamin D for COVID effort that Bill Grant and I had been working on for months and months, throughout most of 2020, in fact. And he's been a great addition to that. And I hope that we will succeed and COVID-19 will go away, and that I can draw Richard into longevity efforts, which need quite a lot of, besides science, they need quite a lot of politicking and dissemination to people on a widespread scale. And you know, it's been wonderful to be invited into a birthday celebration to see your family and friends.
Thank you. And you add a lot. And I think we might want to schedule some more of these that could go on for like 5 hours. But I think everybody got something of great value.
I put in the chat a link to the 2 slides I put up there, and you can find in those, you can find a link to my website, agingbiotech.info. And one of the things on that website is a list of conferences that go on in this field that are ways that people can connect. Most of the conferences on that list are not ones that random, people who aren't scientists would want to go to, but some are, and there's others that you can find, and you can reach out to me and I'll, send you some other ones.
Thank you. On the spiritual note or any other note, Alice Frank, Alice used to travel with me years ago around the world when that sort of thing was happening, and she would help me coach public speaking executives and whatever. Alice, any thoughts you wanted to share?
So beautiful. Hello, everyone. Well, this is just so glorious, and I love you, Richard. The only thought was about timelessness, that timelessness is right here, that the center of every moment is the void, and it's by visiting that in us and remembering that it's right here all the time, we really jump out of time. So that's longevity. I mean, we really, by meditating and by coming into this moment and doing the things that we love, so that we're so absorbed in the presence that we are, we really jump out of time. So may you feel connected to that place inside of everyone and everything. May that really fuel your year, Richard. And may you reverse time this year, and so that next year we all meet here, but in a room and in the flesh and all together, or just by closing our eyes and knowing that we're here and listening to each other's thoughts. And we love you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to say hi to Lisa Coach, who is a pioneering holistic medical doctor down in Florida, who's taken on the big pharma, disinformation campaign. And Treva, I thought of you when I played tennis today. I hope we can play tennis soon. Beth, also from Florida, hi. Radley, it was great to see you. Carrie Jo, thanks for all your political work. I think we're making some progress. And Kevin, yes, I did let you drive my Tesla when it was brand new, which was quite something. I think you were the first person other than like that. Nick, who's not on video, is my, I love you dearly, Nick, and you and I have had some, I think we've unfriended each other like 100 times because Nick and I have a very, 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 very different view of a particular orange man who lives in Florida, whose name will not be mentioned on my birthday. Maureen, thanks for all you're doing for the Ping Pong for Good. Let's see, I hope I haven't forgotten anybody. Bobby, hi, thanks for joining. Ariana, and I think let's just close it with two things.
Can I jump in just for one moment?
Go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to say happy birthday, and I hope people have sung happy birthday to you. If not, I wanted to sing a very short version, which goes like this. This is your birthday song. It won't take very long. Hey, and that's that. And then the other thing is
that was it. That was my only birthday song.
Okay, well that's
so
what because Americans tend to do the funeral march for the happy birthday, the typical happy birthday. But two things, Eileen, I describe myself as a perpetual student, and ping pong is my big thing. So we have to meet very soon, and I can see the light coming from you, and it penetrates through your entire family. And Richard, the one thing I wanted to say to you was, there's a few things that came up, and for me, it's all about the breath and deepening the breath. But the one thing that actually struck me just the other day was just a saying from Rumi, and it has to do with the mention of timelessness that was just brought up before. And the words are, close your eyes, fall in love, stay there. So I just wanted to leave with a little bit of Rumi. So close your eyes, fall in love, stay there. So happy birthday.
Thank you, Bobby. There is never an occasion where Rumi is not incredibly appropriate. So that was beautiful. And as the last thing before we do a very socially distanced birthday cake that my mom apparently has, I don't know if the candles have burned out yet.
Yes, they burned out.
Okay, that's okay.
But I found other ones.
Okay. Malka, do you want to close this with some sort of a prayer or a Purim thing?
Well, just to acknowledge that, also, this is in the Torah portion this week, we are instructed on how to keep lit the candle that goes on forever. And to use fuel that is pure, that is from gently beaten olive. So how is it that we learn to go kindly, that we learn to keep our light filled and pure and shared so that we can shine with each other? And Richard, your light just permeates and shares and connects. This is the making of community. Happy birthday, and many, many, many more.
Thank you. That's a beautiful way to integrate the birthday and the longevity and, you know, the spirituality of this. Thank you all. Mom, do you want to go to the birthday cake?
Yes, now is the time.
Now is the time. And thank you guys for staying 10 minutes over. This is lovely. And
it's 220.
Sorry?
And Richard.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Richard. I love you, Aunt Eileen.
Oh, Gary, thanks, man. I played Army soldiers in the basement in Deal, New Jersey when
it wasn't in the basement, it was between our yards.
Okay. While I was like 6 or 7, and Gary, you're just a few months older. And Radley, how the hell are you, man? So a baby cousin went on to become a lawyer, and he ended up taking up drums and started playing on my drums 100 years ago. Anyway, we reminisce a lot.
I'm doing okay, actually. I was talking about that the other day with who was it? I think it was my dermatologist.
Okay, there
We're
you
trying
go.
to find common ground, and he's like, "What's new?" And I said, "Well, I got a Peloton, and other than that, not much." And the next thing you know, we started talking. He's like, "Have you seen any good movies?" He talked about Whiplash, and I said, "Yeah, I saw Whiplash, and it reminded me when I was a kid. I sat behind some drums, and then my cousin Richard came out, and he gave me some positive reinforcement, and I took like that little bit of positivity from you, and I think other people in the family came and walked in, and I sincerely thought that I was good at the drums because you said I was, and I was like a year old. And ever since then, it's been my favorite thing.
Oh,
so I'd like to thank you for that. And happy birthday.
You followed my steps into, and you better at that than I am, I'm sure. Kiara, do you want to say anything in closing? My one and only lovely, amazing.
Yes, we got this guy. Yeah. Yes.
Happy birthday from Washington State. It snowed this morning in your honor, obviously, because I know how much you love being cold.
Crazy.
And this has been quite entertaining. It's lovely to see so many happy faces come out to celebrate you, and especially all the animals. I truly appreciate those as well. The cat butts and the dog butts, all the furry butts. So happy birthday.
Thank you. I don't think I've ever been wished happy birthday after the phrase "all the furry butts." But,
well, you know,
are you there?
The candles are burning.
Okay, the candles. Where are you? Let me get to you, Mom. There you are. Okay, I'm going to put you on.
Replica.
Here it is. This is truly the end. Thank you guys for staying, through the whole thing. Mom, go ahead. Do you want to lead this?
Well, I saved pieces of their birthday cakes from years back. So here's one a little piece of Richard's birthday cake. Can everybody see the little men on candle holders?
Yes.
They started with Rick's first birthday. Can you believe it?
So let's all collectively, Mom, with you using your actual breath, let's all collectively blow out my birthday candle. And then if you want to sing American Happy Birthday, that would be fine too, in addition to what Bobby did. And then I want to thank all of you again. So, oops, go ahead, Mom.
I got
Ready?
it.
Can you blow it out? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's all do it. And all right.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday
to
you.
Happy
birthday,
dear
Richard.
Happy birthday
to you.
And many, 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 many more.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And
Love you
Scooby-Doo,
all.
and how
I
are
had to pick
you?
the trick ones.
Love you all. Let's do this again next year, either in person and or on Zoom. Really, really, really appreciate it. This is way more fun than I thought it would be. And it's awesome to see your beautiful faces. And every single one of you has played a role in my life and hopefully will continue to do so. So thank you. I'm going to log off and I love you all. Thank you so
Shalom,
much.
shalom, shalom.
Happy birthday.
Happy Purim.
Happy birthday.
Take care, everybody. Great to meet you.
Be happy.
Bye.
I love you, Eileen.
Oh, I love all of you,
Oh, love you, Eileen. Good to see you.
even the ones I've just met. If you're friends of Richard's, you're my friend. Do I see my other son there?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Oh my goodness. I knew I had another son.
Right. So during this whole time, I was driving Ethan to his soccer practice. And then, of course, Gracie had to have her 2-mile walk. So I've been carrying my phone around while I have been watching this entire thing.
You have? Well, I'm so glad.
Yes, I was.
Taking time for the flowing out, right?
Well, while everyone was talking about keeping fit, I was doing a power walk and keeping my dog fit as well.
Well, you see the little boys on the cake?
No, it's below the screen. There we go. Okay, I can see a part of it. Yes.
You're home.
Lower left is a pretty lady too.
Hi, Danelle.
Hi, baby. I love you so much. You look great.
Really? And I've been trying to keep away because everybody that came up had a flawless face. And I
yours
didn't
is
want you to count my wrinkles.
No. You're not showing one wrinkle. You look really young.
Oh
I
my
mean, you look
God.
like really about 45 right now in this picture.
Keep it up. Keep it up.
There's also a beauty filter on here. If you ever just don't want to wear makeup, there's a beauty filter.
I blow these out. Woo, ID.
So
And
Kiara,
you look fantastic too.
yeah, Kiara, you look very beautiful.
Very
and by the way,
beautiful.
since you talked about how animals were your favorite part of this thing, I think, it's my birthday. I should see my grandkids.
Did you not see Bo and Bijou make an appearance? Or were
No.
you...
No.
No,
Well,
so we have to see more. Come on.
We really do want to see more.
Of course. Oh, Kitty. Hi, Kitty. Hi, Kitty. You're so cute.
Oh, isn't that cute? Why did I use the ones that don't blow out?
Oh, look at you. You look like you're smoking.
Where's the?
You're
Yeah, I'm
smoking
smoking.
hot.
I'm smoking a little
Putting the
bit.
phone so I could go take Ethan. Plus, I did the entire walk with Gracie while I was holding this thing. It was interesting.
So I guess we have to find a
Cat number 1.
Your brothers talk, Eddie.
Oh, that's a kitty cat.
He's more of a dog.
That is the most gigantic cat.
Huge.
Hold him up, Kiara.
Yeah, let me get a good look.
Oh,
Okay.
here we go. Oh, here's my big boy.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Come here, baby girl. Come here. There we go.
Oh my gosh, you have 2?
I have 2.
I didn't know that.
Oh, my babies.
They're gorgeous. Is that a Burmese?
They're Siamese mixes. We think they're mixed with ragdolls or Maine Coons.
I love them. They're beautiful.
He's 23 pounds. She's about 14.
Oh my God, 23 pounds on a, look at how docile. Really, he loves you. Look at that. You love that,
Here,
mommy.
Hold on. So I'm now the candle relit. As they candles, so I'm blowing it out now myself.
Can you see? Can you show it what it is?
Here.
Is what I can't quite see it.
There we go.
I
Okay.
want to.
It's going
Show
on.
the little boys. Show the little blue man.
Yeah, I want to actually
Where
see.
is the blue man, Mom?
It's in there. Here, I took it out.
Oh, took it out. Oh, here's the blue man, right?
Okay,
He's-
please hold it over. Stop moving around.
Okay.
Well, I didn't want the cake to go.
Well, there you go. Anyway.
Oh, there, I think.
So, anyway, Ed, were you able to catch Larry's thing?
Yes, I have been here the entire time. I switched to my phone because I had to drive with Ethan down to his soccer practice. Then I had to come back and take Gracie on her long
Ooh,
walk.
that's a beautiful dog.
Yeah, Gracie.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, what do you think,
That is
Gracie?
the
Huh?
longest snout.
She's a standard poodle.
Oh my gosh, she's so beautiful.
Oh, look at that. Say
That
thank you,
is
Gracie.
one sweet trick.
Anyway, so she had to get her walk. We go for a couple miles or so around the neighborhood. So I was just holding the phone and listening the entire time. I had the video off just because I was out in the dark.
Mm-hmm. And how old is Gracie?
Gracie is 12 and a half, and we are trying to make sure she is with us longer than dogs normally are.
There you go.
We'll see how much, she's in pretty good shape for 12 and a half.
No, she looks really good. I repped a product line of healthy dog food. And so I was really, really versed on dogs and health. So. Mhm.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm thinking that exercise is going to be one of the things.
Absolutely. And good food.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, Tony was trying to get in, and it must have happened, and I didn't see him. Oh.
Oh, you know what, Richard? I thought I missed him.
No, he was trying to get in around 7 o'clock, and I think that's when my thing went down. And then, so anyway, you know what I should have done, where I had the waiting room enabled. I should have unenabled the waiting room so people could come in without that. So
I had the worst time getting on. I just couldn't get on. I
know
can't
you couldn't get in there.
Get it on finally.
Yeah, Kiara. Okay, I gotta run, guys. Love you. Thank you so much for everything, and talk to you guys soon.
All right. Love you, Rick.
Birthday.
Great birthday celebration. Love you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.